one of the questions that a lot of people have been asking themselves around this time is kind of what's the point of training in a pandemic? Because most of us train for races and events, and of course many of them have been cancelled in the past year, and many of them could be cancelled this year depending on how the situation goes. And unfortunately it's affecting everyone, even countries like Australia and New Zealand that have done really well in managing the pandemic, because a lot of the big events have so many international athletes flying in, and race organisers are going to be reluctant to do it unless they can get the numbers. It may be that even those races unfortunately don't take place. So it's no wonder that a lot of us are feeling depressed and thinking, oh man, is there any point training this year? Well, in this video I'm going to go through a couple of reasons why I think it absolutely is worth training and why I would encourage you to keep doing so. And the first is that when we look at why we think maybe I shouldn't bother training, the reason is it's a gamble, right? We're thinking, okay, I could do all this training and then my race gets cancelled and I've wasted all that time because I never actually got to race, but I still had to do all the training. And of course that is the reality of doing endurance sports anyway, is that we might get to a week out from our A race and pick up an injury and not be able to race. And so we're already kind of living with that gamble anyway. But I would say it's a gamble either way, that if we skip the training, we say, okay, I'm not going to bother, and then the race happens, then the opposite has gone wrong. Then we really could have done the race and we've kind of wasted a whole year of not being able to race because we just didn't want to do the training. And so I think whichever way we look at it, it ends up a bit of a gamble. And personally, I'm excited about racing. So if I have to gamble either way, I would prefer the gamble on the race being on. It's also worth considering that even if our A race does get cancelled, then there are other options available. There are other maybe smaller, more local events that still take place. Or we could do things like what I did last year, where you can do a self-supported race. And yeah, it's not the same thing as having the huge crowds, but it can be more interesting because you can pick the location, you can pick the route, you can get your own little band of supporters there, and it can be a really nice event built around you rather than built around the event organisers and their needs and what they can do. So I would never say it was a wasted season, because you can always race in one form or another. I would also encourage you to remember your kind of overall goal, so your true north goal as it is. Why did you get into triathlon or running or endurance sports or whatever it is you're doing? Was it so that you could do a race and get a medal? Maybe it was, but chances are for most of us, it was about becoming healthier, improving our fitness, pushing ourselves to the limit, seeing where we could go, and really leading an exciting life where we find out what we're made of, we overcome challenges, and we just feel good about ourselves for what we're doing and how we're living. And of course, none of that changes even if events are cancelled. We're still improving our fitness, we're still living healthy, we're still leading a life that we can be proud of. And even if all the events were taken away forever, then that would still be a worthy goal, in my opinion. And if you think back to why you got into it, my guess is that for most of us, that plays at least a part in it, and that's still worth doing at any time. Where I do think that we should adapt our training a bit is that often when we have races scheduled, it becomes all about the race and the training and focused on giving our best performance possible. And we sometimes forget to enjoy the journey and have fun along the way. And this is something that we should always try and remember. Even in an incident-free year where we're sure the race is going to be on, then life is just going to be more fun if we're enjoying ourselves, if we're having fun, and it's going to be less fun if we ignore all of that and just focus on this perfect performance. And maybe having a perfect performance is fine if you're a professional athlete, if you're Olympian and your whole life is about getting that perfect performance. But most of us are not professional triathletes or runners. We're just doing it because we want to challenge ourselves and because we want to enjoy it. So when it comes to things like if it's a beautiful day outside but you've got a boring ride on the turbo trainer, why not go outside? If your friends are having a race on Zwift and you'd like to join them, why not blow off whatever training you were going to be doing and go do the fun thing? Because it's still going to be great for your fitness, but it'll really help us enjoy the journey along the way. So if you're feeling like there's a little bit down on motivation, there's not much point in training this year, I hope these ideas were helpful and will encourage you to keep going. We're all struggling at the moment. It's a genuinely hard time. And if you are finding your motivation is eroded slightly, then be kind to yourself because it is a tough time. And go through these. Hopefully they'll provide some inspiration for you to keep training, keep racing, and I look forward to seeing you soon.